right now, sitting here in the studio, your brain is using something like 20% of your body's total energy.
Right, yeah, which is a lot.
It is. It's processing all the lights in here, the sounds, the temperature. I mean, it's keeping you upright and managing just like 1,000 background tasks.
Absolutely.
But here's the truly wild part. When you are at home, right, it's 2 in the morning, and you are lying perfectly still in pitch darkness.
Just staring at the ceiling?
Exactly. Staring at the ceiling, completely obsessing over, an email you sent 3 days ago. Well, your brain is actually burning more energy right then than if you were actively taking a calculus exam.
Oh, yeah. It is a massive metabolic spike.
It's crazy.
Because you are physically exhausted, right? Your body's essentially begging for a hard reboot. But your central nervous system is it's running a full diagnostic on literally every perceived social threat.
Every single one.
Or, every unfinished task from the last decade.
I mean, just last night, I spent 45 minutes, and I mean genuinely, 45 minutes lying awake, calculating whether a penguin could survive if you dropped it into a freshwater lake in Michigan.
Oh my gosh, a penguin.
A penguin. And the thing is, I don't own a penguin. I don't even live in Michigan.
Right.
But my brain just decided that this was a life or death puzzle, and it needed solving right then and there.
It's just doing the calculus on the thermal regulation of this imaginary bird.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why is it so incredibly hard to just find the off switch when we need it most?
Well, the short answer is because there isn't one.
There's no switch at all.
No, the brain doesn't have a simple binary switch. You can't just flip from, threat detection mode straight into deep sleep mode.
Right, that makes sense.
It requires a really active transition phase. You need a very specific kind of psychological environment to convince your amygdala, which is the part of your brain that processes fear and anxiety, that it is actually safe to drop its guard.
Just let's go.
Exactly. And in our modern world, we almost never provide that environment.
Which perfectly brings us to the source material we are tearing apart today on this deep dive.
Yes, I'm so excited for this one.
We are looking at a really fascinating narrative text. It's titled The Midnight Train to a Town That Only Appears at Night.
Such a great title.
It is. Now, on the surface, to you, the listener, this just looks like a soothing bedtime story, right?
Yeah.
But we aren't here to just, read you a lullaby.
No, definitely not.
We are diving deep into the actual engineering of this text to understand a concept called story talking.
Yeah, story talking is it's fascinating because it sits right at this weird intersection of literature and clinical psychology.
Could you break that down a bit for us?
So we're going to look at this text as a piece of psychological architecture.
Architecture.
Right, because the author is using highly targeted sensory design, rhythmic syntax pacing, and explicit psychological permissions to build a literal functioning safe haven right inside your mind.
That is so cool.
It is. We're going to deconstruct exactly how this story systematically hacks your nervous system, basically to dismantle real-world anxiety.
And the hack, it starts immediately, right? Like before the story even really begins.
Oh, right on the first page.
Yeah, the very first lines of the text, they establish this completely rigid set of rules for the night. It literally tells you, tonight, you do not need to be anywhere.
I love that line.
There is nothing waiting for you, nothing you need to finish, nothing you need to solve.
It's so direct.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then it guides you through this physical relaxation. So softening shoulders, unclenching the jaw, and it drops you onto an old, forgotten railway platform at exactly 11:58 p.m.
Such a specific time.
Right, with no traffic, no city lights.
So that opening is a direct surgical strike on the root cause of your penguin in Michigan anxiety.
The root cause being what, exactly?
It's the subconscious feeling of unauthorized rest.
Unauthorized rest? Wait, like we haven't earned the right to go to sleep yet.
Exactly that. I mean, our culture heavily conditions us to believe that rest is a reward, right?
Yeah.
You get to rest only after finishing your work.
Right, but the to-do list is never actually finished.
Never. So, when you lie down in bed, your brain treats all those unfinished tasks as active, immediate threats. It just spikes your cortisol.
So you're lying there in high alert.
Yeah. And the genius of this text is that it doesn't ask you to just try to relax.
Which never works anyway.
Right. Instead, it steps in as an absolute authority figure. It explicitly grants you permission to abandon your obligations. It's drawing a really hard boundary.
Okay, I get that conceptually, but I'm a bit skeptical of the mechanics here.
Sure.
Is simply hearing the words, you don't have to solve anything. Is that really enough to override a biological cortisol spike? I mean, my brain knows I still have to pay my taxes tomorrow. regardless of what this story says.
Oh, it isn't magic, obviously, but it is a really well-documented psychological mechanism.
Okay, how so?
Think of it like putting a computer into safe mode.
Safe mode, okay.
Yeah, when a computer is totally overwhelmed and crashing, safe mode doesn't delete your files.
Right.
It doesn't fix the corrupted software permanently.
It just strips it down to the basics.
Exactly. It just temporarily suspends all those non-essential background processes so the core operating system can stabilize.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Right, so by explicitly naming the obligations, finishing, solving, and deliberately placing them outside the boundaries of tonight, the story talking is triggering that exact same safe mode in your brain.
So it's not pretending tomorrow doesn't exist at all. It's just temporarily revoking tomorrow's access to my immediate processing power.
Precisely. And the thing is, it pairs that cognitive boundary with physiological cues.
Like the jaw thing.
Yes. Notice it specifically targets the shoulders and the jaw. The masseter muscle in your jaw is one of the strongest muscles in the entire body.
Right.
Oh yeah, and it's a primary storage site for stress-induced tension.
That explains the teeth grinding.
Exactly. So when you consciously relax the jaw, it sends a vagus nerve signal straight back to the brain, confirming that you are not preparing for a physical confrontation.
That is wild. The setting itself does a lot of heavy lifting here too, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Like this old railway platform at 11:58 p.m., the text explicitly points out what you can't hear.
Right, the absence of noise.
Yeah, no busy streets, no cars, just the outline of hills and the sound of your own breathing. But I have to ask, why 11:58? Why not just start the story at midnight?
It's all about liminality.
Liminality.
Yeah, 11:58 p.m. is a liminal space. It is the absolute precipice of a transition. It's like the waiting room of the night.
Oh, I see.
Because if the story started right at midnight, you'd be thrust immediately into a whole new day. But at 11:58, you were in the final agonizing breaths of today.
And the text actually makes you sit in that discomfort too. Like, it forces a countdown.
It really does.
It literally describes the minute hand moving. 11:58. The minute hand moves. 11:59. It feels like it's physically forcing you to slow down to its exact pace.
Which is incredibly frustrating for an anxious brain.
Right. I'm always trying to rush through it.
Because anxiety is anticipatory. It always wants to fast forward. It wants to skip the waiting part and get straight to the disaster it's predicting.
The impending doom.
Yeah. So by anchoring you on that quiet platform and forcing you to watch the clock tick in real time, the story talking is essentially doing exposure therapy on your impatience.
Wow, exposure therapy.
Yeah, it is training your nervous system that it is perfectly safe to just stand still and wait. You don't have to be doing something.
And then finally the clock strikes 12. 12 soft chimes. And this train appears. But this is where the story talking totally subverts reality.
It's such a cool shift.
It's described as a dark blue train with amber windows. But the text makes a massive point of saying there is absolutely no noise.
Not at all.
Right. No screeching brakes, no harsh hissing steam, just a soft rumble. The doors open, there's an elderly conductor in a dark blue uniform, and you board the Midnight Express to a town called Willowmere.
Willowmere.
Yeah. But why a train? Of all the vehicles to use to transition into sleep, why something so industrial?
It comes back to the psychological phenomenon of decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue.
Yeah, think about driving a car. You are in control, right, but you are also entirely responsible.
I have to navigate, hit the brakes, all of that.
You have to monitor your speed, watch for hazards. A train, on the other hand, represents a total positive loss of agency.
Because you're on tracks.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're on a fixed track. You literally cannot steer. So for a brain that has spent 16 hours making micro decisions and managing every little outcome,
The realization that you are now just a passenger on an unalterable track is profoundly relieving.
exactly, you can't steer even if you wanted to.
You just surrender to the ride. That makes sense. But real trains are loud. You know, they smell like diesel and ozone. They jolt you around. The author is taking an inherently jarring object and just softening all the edges.
It's a specific technique called sensory subversion.
Sensory subversion.
Yeah. If the author just invented, say, a magical flying cloud, your brain might reject it as too childish or too abstract to be real.
Right, I'd just be like, okay, this is silly.
Exactly. But a train is tangible. Your brain knows how to simulate the physics of a train. But by explicitly noting the absence of the screeching and the harshness, the story highlights the artificial, curated safety of the space.
It's safe, precisely because it's missing the dangerous part.
Right. And look at the visual data the text provides. It's dark blue, amber, golden light. moonlight.
Oh, right. It completely avoids any daylight colors. There's no stark white or bright yellow anywhere.
Because from a neurobiological standpoint, bright, cool tone light, like the blue light from our phones and screens, that actually suppresses melatonin production.
Because it mimics a daytime sky, right?
Exactly. But amber and dark blue, those mimic the visual environment of dusk. So the story talking is literally rendering a low-light environment in your mind's eye.
That's brilliant.
It coaxingly aligns your internal visual simulation with the physical darkness of your actual bedroom.
It's literally dimming the lights in your imagination. And the language completely shifts once you are on board too.
Oh, the pacing changes completely.
Yeah, the syntax itself becomes rhythmic. It reads back and forth, a soft rhythm like waves, like rain, like breathing, basically talking in a lullaby meter.
This is really the crux of story talking. The words cease to be purely descriptive and they become functional.
Functional how?
Well, that rhythmic repetition, like waves, like rain, like breathing, is an auditory pendulum. It's an entrainment technique.
Entrainment. Like getting your brainwaves to sync up to a beat.
Exactly that. By feeding the brain a slow, repetitive, predictable linguistic pattern, the narrative encourages your actual respiratory rate to slow down. It wants your lungs to match the cadence of the sentences. The story is quite literally breathing for you and asking your lungs to follow along.
That is incredible. And you know, there's this one tiny detail on the train that caught my eye.
Oh, was it?
You step on, and the conductor doesn't ask for a ticket. There's no toll. Nobody checks your credentials or asks for your ID. You just walk in and sit down.
Think about it. How often in your daily life do you get to enter a space without paying for it, proving you belong there, or performing some kind of role?
Almost never. I mean, even sitting in a public park, it feels like you have to look busy or active so people don't think you're weird.
Right. Our waking lives are entirely transactional. You earn your salary, you earn your status, you pay for your coffee.
Every interaction costs something.
Yeah. So by removing the ticket, the story removes the transactional burden completely. It sends a subconscious signal that your presence is simply accepted as a baseline reality.
You don't have to earn your spot on the train?
Exactly. Rest, in this narrative, is framed as a fundamental right, not a commodity you have to purchase with daytime productivity.
I love that. And that brings us to Willowmere itself.
The town.
Yes, the town. So the train arrives at this quiet, moonlit town nestled in misty hills. You step off onto these cobblestone streets. There are no cars. And you find two specific buildings.
Right, the bakery and the bookstore?
Yeah, a bakery with a sign that says open until morning that smells like fresh bread, and a worn bookstore. Now, okay, I have to be honest here.
Uh-oh, what?
A bakery and a bookstore. It feels a little, I don't know, Hallmark movie, doesn't it?
I can see why you'd say that.
Like, why not a tranquil beach or a quiet cabin in the woods? Is there a clinical reason for picking a quaint little town center? Or is it just leaning into cozy cliches?
Well, it might feel cliche on the surface, sure, but those cliches exist because they trigger incredibly deep-seated evolutionary responses.
Okay, sell me in the bakery then.
Let's look at the bakery. The smell of baking bread is actually one of the most universally comforting olfactory cues in human psychology.
Really? More than nature smells.
Yeah. It triggers strong associations with caloric density, warmth, and communal gathering. From an evolutionary standpoint, if you are near baking bread, you are near an active hearth.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. It means you are safe from predators, and crucially, you are not going to starve tonight.
So it's basically tricking my lizard brain into thinking I've successfully gathered enough resources for the winter.
Exactly. It's biological reassurance. And that sign you mentioned, open until morning, that provides a guarantee of enduring security.
Right. They aren't going to flip the sign to closed and kick you out into the cold.
Exactly. Now, the bookstore serves a different but complementary function. The bakery is physical nourishment, right?
Yeah.
But the bookstore is cognitive organization.
Cognitive organization, okay, because the text does mention that the shelves cover every wall. They're perfectly ordered, full of books about oceans and forgotten towns.
Yes, it's very structured.
I actually compared it in my notes to a save room in a video game.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah, you know, when you're playing a really stressful game, running from zombies or whatever, and you finally step into a specific room where the music suddenly changes to a soft piano track.
Right, the lighting gets warm.
Exactly. And you just know with absolute certainty that no enemies can spawn here. You can finally organize your inventory and just breathe. Willowmere feels like a psychological save room.
That is the perfect mechanical analogy. A save room is a designated zone where the rules of the hostile outside world are temporarily suspended.
And nothing can hurt you.
Right. And inside the save room bookstore, the story talking gets brilliantly meta. You find this blank, dark blue book titled The Places We Rest.
Yeah, and the words magically appear on the page.
Yes, they literally tell you sometimes the place you were looking for is not a place at all. It is the feeling of being safe.
The story is literally winking at the listener. It's admitting, hey, I know I'm just words on a page. Willowmere isn't real.
It breaks the fourth wall entirely.
But why do that? Doesn't breaking the fourth wall ruin the immersion?
Not in this context, no. Because the goal isn't to convince you that you are actually in a magical town.
It's not.
No, the goal is somatic regulation.
Okay, what does that mean?
By pulling back the curtain, the author is shifting your focus from the geography of the town to the physiology of your own body.
Oh, wow.
It's essentially saying, hey, the cobblestones aren't real, but that loosening in your chest, that drop in your heart rate, that feeling is entirely real, and you generated it.
It empowers the listener.
Exactly. It shows you that you have the power to create that safety.
I love that so much. But I did notice something a little unsettling about the town.
What's that?
Aside from the conductor on the train, Willowmere is completely empty. You walk the streets, and it says the town is sleeping. Now, maybe it's just me, but a totally deserted town at midnight.
It feels a bit spooky.
Yeah. It edges a little close to Twilight Zone eeriness for my liking. Why empty the town?
Because the story is targeting a very specific type of exhaustion. It's targeting social and cognitive overload.
Oh.
Every time you encounter a person in real life, your brain has to perform rapid computations. Are they a threat? What do they expect of me? Do I need to smile?
Do I need to make small talk?
Exactly. Do I need to converse? People require a massive amount of performative energy.
They drain the social battery, for sure.
Yes. So, by completely depopulating the environment, the story removes the burden of social performance entirely. The isolation in Willowmere doesn't represent abandonment.
What does it represent, then?
Complete autonomy. You don't have to talk, you don't have to react, you don't have to be on. You are entirely free from expectation.
Okay, that makes sense. But then right after establishing that you are gloriously alone, the story breaks its own rule.
Ah, yes. The lake.
Right. You walk down to a perfectly still lake reflecting the stars, and suddenly, a woman with a lantern approaches you.
She just walks right up.
Yeah. She explains that Willowmere only appears at midnight for those who are tired and overthinking. And then she guides you through an exercise.
Yeah.
But honestly, I found her appearance really jarring.
How come?
Well, she drops this heavy wisdom, tells you what to do, and then she leaves. She walks away into the dark. It almost felt abrupt or rude to me as a reader. Why introduce a character just to immediately dismiss her?
Because she acts as a benevolent validator.
A validator.
Yeah, this goes back to what we discussed at the very beginning, the anxiety of unauthorized rest.
The guilt about not finishing the to-do list.
Exactly. When you are alone with your thoughts, it's very easy to start gaslighting yourself, thinking, I shouldn't be resting, I have too much to do, I'm just being lazy.
The guilt definitely creeps back in.
Right. So the woman with the lantern, she provides external objective validation. She looked at you and essentially says, I see that you're carrying too much. Your exhaustion is real, and it is valid, and you are allowed to be here.
That is so powerful.
It is. But once she provides that external permission, her narrative utility is completely spent.
Because if she stayed...
If she hung around to chat, she would become exactly the kind of social obligation we just talked about escaping.
Oh, wow.
So the abruptness of her departure is intentional. It preserves your necessary isolation.
It's like, I validate your tiredness, now I will leave you alone. Man, I wish people did that in real life.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Okay, so before she leaves, she initiates what seems to be the absolute psychological core of this entire text. She has you stand by the lake and place your worries onto the water.
Yes.
And the text doesn't just say throw your stress in the lake. It specifically categorizes them. You place 4 things on the water.
Very specifically, 4 things.
Yeah, a worry about tomorrow, a worry about yesterday, a question without an answer, and something you cannot control.
That categorization is incredibly precise. It is targeting what we call the 4 horsemen of clinical nighttime anxiety.
The 4 horsemen. Okay, let's break those down.
So first, a worry about tomorrow. That is anticipatory anxiety. It's the brain trying to predict and control future threats.
Which you can never fully do.
Right. Second is a worry about yesterday. That is rumination. It's the brain trapped in a loop trying to retroactively fix an unchangeable past event.
Like my email from 3 days ago.
Exactly like your email. You can't unsend it, but your brain keeps trying to fix it.
And the third one is a question without an answer.
This one targets cognitive dissonance and ambiguity intolerance.
Ambiguity intolerance.
Yeah. The human brain hates unresolved patterns. It will literally invent a disaster scenario just to close a loop, rather than sit with the discomfort of simply saying, I don't know.
Hence the penguin in the Michigan lake.
There it is.
My brain had an unanswered question about thermal regulation and decided I couldn't sleep until I solved it.
Exactly. And the fourth worry is something you cannot control.
Which gets to the existential root of almost all anxiety, doesn't it?
It does. It's the illusion of agency. We stay awake because we subconsciously believe that if we just think about a problem hard enough, we can somehow control the outcome of a situation that is entirely out of our hands.
So the story has you visualize taking these 4 specific abstract terrors, turning them into physical weight, placing them on the surface of the lake and watching them drift away.
This is a textbook clinical technique known as cognitive diffusion.
Okay, can you explain cognitive diffusion like I'm 5 years old?
Sure. Imagine your thoughts are made of Velcro, and your sense of self, your identity, is also made of Velcro.
Okay, lots of Velcro.
Right, so when an anxious thought pops up, it instantly sticks to you. You don't just have a worry about tomorrow, you are worried about tomorrow.
The thought and my identity just become totally tangled up.
Yes. Cognitive diffusion is the process of unvelcroing the thought. It's training your brain to observe the thought as a separate external object.
So instead of saying I am panic about tomorrow, it becomes I am currently observing a thought about tomorrow.
Exactly. By forcing you to visualize the worry leaving your body and resting on the water, the story talking provides a mechanical structure for that exact unvelcroing process.
And notice the specific instruction the text gives as the worries float away. It says, the lake carries everything away. You do not have to follow. You do not have to hold on. You simply watch.
It's so deliberate.
You don't jump in the lake and swim after the worry. You just let the water do the work.
The imagery is beautiful too. It's as a gentle breeze moves across the lake, shattering the moon's reflection into 1,000 pieces of silver. But then slowly, the water returns to perfect stillness.
That part is mirroring the exact autonomic settling it is trying to induce in your nervous system.
Really?
Yeah, an emotional disruption occurs, represented by the breeze, but the baseline state of stillness eventually returns. It's teaching emotional resilience in real time.
And having literally emptied your mind into this lake, you are finally ready to sleep.
So you walk back into the town and check into a small hotel called the Night House. An old man gives you the key to room 7. You lie down in a warm bed, and you actually fall asleep within the story.
Which is a brilliant transition.
But then the text pulls a complete inception on you.
It really does.
The clock chimes 12 again. You wake up in room 7, look out the window, and Willowmere has totally transformed. It is glowing with tiny hanging lanterns, gentle music is echoing through the square, and the stars are impossibly bright.
This dream within a dream structure acts as a narrative trapdoor.
A trapdoor.
Yeah, you thought you had reached the baseline of relaxation by going to bed, right? But the story drops you through the floor into an even deeper sub-basement of tranquility.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it.
You have offloaded your emotional baggage at the lake, your physical body is resting in the hotel, and now this secondary waking state allows you to consciously experience the reward of that unburdening.
The Lantern Festival is just this space of pure, unadulterated peace.
Yes.
Which makes what happens next incredibly frustrating, honestly.
I know, people always react strongly to this part.
You are standing there, soaking in this perfect lantern-lit, anxiety-free festival, and the conductor just taps you on the shoulder and says, "The train is leaving.
Time to go."
You have to go." I felt a genuine flash of outrage reading this. I finally found the one place where my brain is quiet and the story's kicking me out. Why not just end the story with the listener staying in Willowmere forever?
Because if you stayed in Willowmere forever, it wouldn't be a sanctuary anymore. It would be a pathology.
A pathology? Like it becomes unhealthy.
Exactly. It would be pure avoidance. True, restorative rest is a temporary biological necessity designed to prepare you for reality, not a permanent escape from it.
I guess that's fair.
The conductor's dialogue here is profoundly important. He says, everyone should know when a journey is ending.
It's a hard truth. But if we think about the mechanics of anxiety, holding on to a moment of peace too tightly can actually generate a brand new anxiety. Well, if I am sitting in this beautiful lantern festival, but I'm terrified that the sun might come up or the magic might fade, I'm not actually resting anymore. I'm standing guard over my peace.
Which requires immense metabolic energy.
Exactly.
Guarding your peace is just as exhausting as fighting a threat. The illusion of permanence is a trap.
That's a great point.
So by forcing you to accept the conductor's intervention and willingly leave Willowmere, the story is giving you a masterclass in letting go.
It teaches you that you can experience profound safety without having to own it or trap it.
Right. You accept that the rest you received was sufficient, and you trust that you can carry the effect of that peace. You know, the lowered heart rate, the unvelcroed thoughts back into the real world.
The story even preps your body for this exit, doesn't it? When you initially lay down in room 7, it walks you through a progressive muscle relaxation. It says your feet become heavy, your arms become heavy, your face softens. By the time you are asked to leave, your physiological state is so heavily sedated that the idea of departing doesn't trigger a cortisol spike of panic.
It just triggers this heavy, gentle acceptance.
You're physically too relaxed to fight the departure. So you walk back to the station and you reboard the Midnight Express.
Which brings us to the final and maybe most structurally fascinating part of the text.
The return journey.
Yes.
The return journey.
The train is moving quietly through a dark forest. The conductor asks, "Did you find what you needed?" And you nod yes. But as the train rolls on, the story begins to intentionally self-destruct.
It totally falls apart, mechanically.
The text explicitly tells the listener, you do not need to follow these words anymore. And all those rich descriptions of cobblestones and bakeries, they just vanish.
They dissolve.
The sentences become incredibly short, sometimes just a single word. Deeper, floating, quiet.
This is the hypnagogic breakdown.
Hypnagogic. Yeah, the text is mimicking the precise cognitive architecture of the brain, transitioning from wakefulness into stage 1 sleep.
What exactly is happening in the brain during that hypnagogic state?
Well, when you are awake, your frontal lobe maintains a linear, logical narrative. You understand cause and effect. A cobblestone street makes structural sense.
Right.
But as you cross the threshold into sleep, the frontal lobe relinquishes control. And the brain starts dealing in abstract imagery, disconnected concepts, and pure sensory feelings.
So the story talking intentionally abandons logic to match the brain's descent into abstraction.
Exactly. It shifts from concrete nouns like towns, hotels, books, to formless, floating elements. The text says, like a leaf on a quiet river, like a cloud beneath the stars.
It's dissolving the scaffolding it just spent 20 minutes building.
Right. Most stories fight for your attention, right? They try to keep you hooked until the very last word, but this narrative is actively trying to make you ignore it.
It's like the credits rolling at the end of a really intense movie.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
The screen goes black, a very soft ambient track starts playing, and the names just slowly scroll past. It's a decompression chamber between the narrative you just experienced and the harsh lights of the movie theater lobby. The story is ushering you over the threshold.
And it provides one final, crucial safety net, too. It promises that Willowmere is permanent. It says, whenever the world becomes too loud, you can return.
It transitions the story from a passive entertainment experience into an active, permanent cognitive tool in your psychological toolkit.
Exactly. It's always there for you.
But there is one line right at the very end that I keep thinking about. The train is moving, taking you back to reality. The text says, the train continues carrying you toward morning.
Right.
But then it immediately insists, but you do not need to think about morning. You do not need to hurry. You can remain here in this peaceful night. How does it resolve that contradiction? The train is literally taking you to tomorrow, but telling you not to worry about tomorrow.
It achieves that by indefinitely expanding the transition space.
Expanding the transition.
Yes, the anxiety of morning comes from the anticipation of arrival. The moment you arrive, the obligations resume. The story separates the direction of travel from the event of arrival.
So it's focusing entirely on the transit.
Exactly. It doesn't drop you off at tomorrow's doorstep. It leaves you suspended in the motion, in the dark, in the quiet rhythm of the train. It gives you explicit, open-ended permission to inhabit the in-between for as long as your nervous system requires.
We spend so much of our waking lives desperately trying to get from one point to another.
We really do.
We're always trying to cross a bridge, from yesterday's mistakes to tomorrow's solutions, from the stress of the workday to the relief of the weekend, from being wide awake to being deeply asleep. We treat the transition itself as an annoying delay.
We view the transit as empty time that needs to be survived until we reach the destination.
Right, but what if the profound secret embedded in this story talking isn't about arriving at the perfect magical town?
What if it's not the destination?
Yeah, what if the secret is realizing that the dark, quiet, liminal spaces of our lives, the transit itself, the moments where we are on a fixed track and required to do absolutely nothing but be carried along, are actually where we are most fundamentally safe?
That is a remarkable shift in perspective. If you can learn to view the waiting, the darkness, and the in-between not as a delay, but as the destination itself, the anxiety of arrival entirely evaporates.
You don't need a magical train or an audio track to find Willowmere.
No, you really don't.
The mechanics we've deconstructed today in this deep dive, the cognitive diffusion of putting your worries on a lake, the boundary setting of safe mode, the permission to exist without producing. These are architectural blueprints you now possess. You hold the key to the Midnight Express.
You simply have to recognize when your nervous system is overwhelmed. Stand on that metaphorical platform and consciously give yourself permission to step out of the transactional world for a few hours.
So tonight, when the house is completely quiet, the lights are out, and your brain suddenly decides it is absolutely critical to figure out the survival rates of imaginary penguins in freshwater lakes.
Just let the penguin go.
Exactly. Don't fight it by panicking about tomorrow's alarm clock. Don't try to force yourself across the finish line of sleep. Just find that empty platform in your mind, wait for the chime, and let the journey carry you for a while. Deeper. Floating. Quiet.
Imagine a piece of literature where the author's ultimate goal, like their sole metric of success, is that you never actually finish reading.
Right. It is completely wild to think about.
Yeah. A story engineered from the very first syllable to basically dismantle your attention span and make you lose consciousness before the final page.
It completely upends the traditional rules of writing. I mean, normally an author wants to grip your attention and just refuse to let go.
Oh, for sure. They want you on the edge of your seat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here, they are actively trying to negotiate a hostage release with your waking brain.
Which makes today's source material such a brilliant paradox. So, welcome to this deep dive. Today we are examining a complete final script for a sleep story, and it is titled The Lighthouse That Remembered Dreams.
And we really have a great mission for this deep dive.
We do. We aren't just going to recap a bedtime tale for you. We are going to unpack the actual architecture of sleep storytelling.
Yeah, because it is a highly structured thing.
Right. We are going to explore how this specific script uses pacing, deliberate sensory imagery, and some surprisingly heavy emotional themes to biologically and psychologically hack the human mind.
Lulling it right into a state of deep rest. Because honestly, it truly is an architectural feat.
It really is.
Sleep storytelling isn't just, ambient white noise or some plotless drone. It is a highly structured psychological tool that is just cloaked in a narrative.
Yeah, cloaked is the perfect word for it. Every single word is chosen to trigger a specific physiological response. So to understand how that works, I want you to picture the opening scene the script lays out. You are immediately placed in a quiet night. The world has finally become still.
Which is such a powerful starting point.
It is. You are standing beside an ocean. The waves are moving gently beneath the moonlight. The wind is whispering through the grass, and you are walking down a narrow earthen path toward a dark cliff.
The setting does a ton of heavy lifting before the plot even begins.
Oh, absolutely.
It immediately isolates you. There are no traffic sounds, no crowded rooms, no smartphones pinging, just the natural rhythmic elements of an empty coast.
And standing there on that coast is our protagonist, Clara. She is completely alone. And the script, it doesn't waste time on complex action sequences or intricate backstory at all.
No, it zooms right in.
Yeah, it explicitly focuses on very slow, gentle movements. There is a lighthouse on the cliff, and its golden light is sweeping across the dark sea.
And then there is that repetition.
Yes. The script repeats this phrase once, twice, again, and again. And underlying that sweeping light is the periodic resonant ringing of the lighthouse bell gong.
That sweeping light and that bell, they are basically the foundational pillars of the entire cognitive hack.
Okay, let's unpack this, because when I first read that opening, I just kept visualizing a hypnotist's swinging pendulum.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
Or maybe like a really slow metronome sitting on a piano. The golden light sweeps, the bell rings. Doo. It really feels like the script is actively trying to physically slow down your internal clock by providing these recurring sensory anchors.
What's fascinating here is the the clinical psychology behind that exact mechanism. That is what makes this so incredibly effective.
Right, because it's not just pretty words.
Not at all.
Right.
When we try to calm a dysregulated nervous system in a therapeutic setting, we use grounding techniques. Throughout your day, your brain is in a state of hypervigilance.
Constantly on edge.
Yeah, it is tracking a million unpredictable variables, emails, conversations, the car braking suddenly in front of you. That keeps your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, highly engaged.
So the brain is basically just stuck in high gear.
Precisely. So by introducing this repetitive golden light and the slow, resonant dong of the bell, the story creates a perfectly enclosed, predictable environment.
A safe zone, kind of.
Right. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, specifically stimulating the vagus nerve. It forces the brain to shift away from the chaotic, unpredictable anxieties of the waking world and synchronize with a simple pattern.
Wow.
You literally cannot maintain a high heart rate or rapid breathing if your brain is fully locked onto the slow, predictable rhythm of those imaginary waves.
It acts as a gentle, rhythmic tether. I love that. It keeps you from floating back up into your own stressful, spiraling thoughts.
Exactly.
But, that soothing, rhythmic exterior is essentially just the lobby of this story. Because once Clara steps through the old wooden door of this lighthouse and climbs the endless spiral staircase, the narrative introduces a metaphor that is surprisingly profound.
It definitely takes a darker, a more melancholic turn than you might expect from something that is meant to help you relax.
It really does. I was a bit shocked. Clara reaches the top of the stairs and enters the lantern room. But the walls aren't covered in maps or nautical gear like you would expect. They are lined with hundreds of glowing glass bottles. Blue, green, silver, golden light shining from within them. And she meets the keeper of the lighthouse, this old man with a lantern named Elias.
And when Clara asks what is inside the bottles, Elias tells her they are dreams.
Specifically, the dreams people have forgotten.
And he doesn't shy away from explaining the harsh reality of why those dreams were forgotten either.
Man, that part hit incredibly hard. Elias says people forget their dreams because life becomes loud, they become busy, and they become afraid.
It is so poignant.
It is. And then Clara finds her own bottle, a glowing golden one, and touching it unlocks a deeply repressed memory.
Right, the memory of her grandmother.
Yeah, she is 8 years old, standing on a beach with her grandmother, drawing a lighthouse in the sand. And her grandmother tells her the lighthouse shines for someone who needs to find their way home.
Such a beautiful image.
But then we learn that Clara stopped dreaming, stopped writing, and stopped wondering entirely after her grandmother died. She just became practical, dizzy, and responsible.
She locked that gentle, vulnerable part of herself away in order to survive the acute grief. And then, just the mundane busyness of adulthood.
Okay, but this is where I have to push back a little on the strategy here.
Let's hear it.
A sleep story centered on repressed grief, the death of a beloved grandmother, and the crushing, mundane weight of practical adulthood. Isn't that way too heavy?
It sounds like it would be.
Right. I mean, if you are lying in bed trying to get to sleep, do you really want to be confronting the death of your own childhood wonder?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, on the surface, it seems entirely counterintuitive. Why not just tell a story about a happy bunny in a meadow, right?
Exactly. Give me the happy bunny.
But if we look at the cognitive behavioral principles of sleep anxiety, it actually makes perfect sense. Ignoring daily anxieties or pretending sadness doesn't exist, that rarely works for a racing mind.
Because it just pushes it down.
Right. If you tell an insomniac, don't be stressed, their brain immediately highlights the stress.
The classic don't think of a pink elephant problem. If you try to force yourself not to think about your impending deadline, that deadline is all you can see.
Yes. What this script does is far more sophisticated. It acknowledges the gentle melancholy we all feel late at night.
That quiet 2 a.m. feeling?
Right. When the house is quiet and the distractions of the day are gone, that is when the grief, the regret, and the feeling of missing out on life all creep in.
Yeah, they really do.
The story validates your quiet nighttime anxieties. But it doesn't just leave them hanging out in the open. It safely contains them.
Oh, it puts them in the glass bottle.
Exactly that. The heavy feelings are acknowledged, but they are physically contained within beautiful glowing glass bottles in a safe, magical room guarded by a wise old keeper.
That is so clever.
It takes the abstract terror of existential adult dread and makes it manageable, beautiful, and safe to observe from a distance.
It is a brilliant reframing. It is basically whispering to you, yes, you are sad, you are tired, you have lost things, but look how beautifully we can store that sadness for the night. But merely storing anxiety isn't enough to actually induce sleep. You also have to actively release physical tension. And that brings us to the most crucial mechanism in the script, which is modeled for the listener through a new character named Daniel.
This is a huge shift. This is the turning point where the narrative moves from emotional containment to active physical release.
Yeah, because Clara isn't alone with Elias for long. We hear slow footsteps on the spiral staircase. Step, step, step.
Very methodical.
Right. A man named Daniel appears in the doorway. He is wearing a wet coat, he has a pale face, and these deeply tired eyes. And he is desperate. He wants to steal Clara's golden dream to open what he calls the door to yesterday.
He really represents a person entirely trapped in the sunk cost fallacy of their own past.
He wants one more day with someone he lost, his sister Anna. He has spent his whole adult life trying to force his way backward to bring her back.
It is heartbreaking.
It is, but Elias gently tells him that he cannot go back. And Clara realizes Daniel doesn't need to steal her dream, he needs to remember his own.
Which is a huge breakthrough for him.
Yeah, and when he finally stops trying to force a solution, a memory returns to him. He remembers Anna laughing, running through a sunny field with a brilliant red kite.
A great visual.
Clara tells him Anna doesn't need him to stay trapped in the past. She tells him he needs to live. Daniel touches a red bottle, briefly sees Anna on the beach, and she echoes that command. She tells him to go live.
The realization is powerful, but the script knows that cognitive realization isn't enough to release deep tension.
Right, knowing you should relax doesn't actually make you relax.
Exactly, so it revisits him a few moments later to show the physical manifestation of letting go.
And this is the sequence that completely blew my mind. Here is where it gets really interesting. Later in the story, Clara visits Daniel again in this sort of in-between dream space.
Right.
He is sitting by an open window, looking much older, and he is physically clutching that red kite from his memory. He remembered Anna, and he got stuck again, just holding on to the memory of her with a white-knuckle grip.
Still trapped.
Yeah. Clara tells him to honor her by living. And Daniel finally opens his hands. He physically lets go of the red kite. He watches it fly out the window up into the sky until it is just a tiny red dot. And only then does his face soften into peace.
It is a vivid visual metaphor for surrender.
It really is. When I was reading this, I couldn't help but compare that emotional release to the physical act of progressive muscle relaxation.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, when you purposefully tense up your shoulders, clench your jaw, make tight fists, and then you intentionally release them, feeling the tension drain out of your muscles.
That is exactly what it is doing.
Daniel has had this death grip on his grief. He is emotionally and physically clenched. Releasing that kite is the narrative equivalent of unclenching your jaw. He unclenches his mind so his body can finally rest.
It is an incredibly potent biological cue embedded right in the middle of a bedtime story. I mean, think about what is keeping someone awake at 2 a.m.
It is Daniel's problem.
Exactly. The listener is gripping tightly to a conversation they had 5 years ago, or a mistake they made at work, or the profound grief of losing someone. They are lying in the dark, physically tense, holding on to their own red kites.
Wow, yeah. We are all just sitting in the dark, holding on to our red kites, refusing to open our hands.
And Elias makes the thematic core of this explicit when Clara asks what the lighthouse really does. He says the lighthouse isn't really about sleeping at all, it is about waking up.
Waking up to life.
Yes. It reminds people to wake up to the life that have been waiting for them all along. By having you watch Daniel let go of his tension, it subliminally grants your own brain permission to put down the heavy baggage of the day.
It totally gives you permission to mentally clock out. But, okay, here is where the script pulls off its wildest maneuver.
It really takes a turn here.
It does. Once Daniel's emotional tension is released, and you are presumably feeling a bit lighter, the story doesn't just neatly wrap up. It doesn't follow a standard 3-act structure to a logical conclusion.
Not at all.
Instead, the mythology of the lighthouse drastically expands. The whole narrative fractures and shifts from a linear, logical progression into something incredibly surreal and disjointed.
The strict boundaries of reality just completely dissolve.
They evaporate. Elias passes his golden lantern to Clara, and she becomes the new keeper. Suddenly, a 10-year-old girl named Lily arrives at the door, mourning her mother.
Out of nowhere.
Right. And through a series of bizarre reveals, we find out Lily is actually Clara's future granddaughter. The script tells us the lighthouse doesn't exist inside normal time at all. It exists somewhere between yesterday and tomorrow.
It abandons the chronological rules of daytime reality entirely.
Then, to save the fading light of the lighthouse, Clara has to visit something called the First Dream behind a dark door, where she finds a young version of Elias. She learns that Elias's own daughter dreamed up the lighthouse to begin with.
It gets so layered.
So layered. The next second, Clara is suddenly transported to a village bookstore called the Dreaming Lantern, run by a woman named Margaret. And Clara realizes she has to sit down and write the very book we are currently experiencing to keep the magic alive.
It is a full-on paradox.
Yeah. And I have to ask about this time loops. Future granddaughters. The creating the creator. Doesn't this kind of complex Inception-style plotting stimulate the brain way too much for a sleep story?
This raises an important question, actually, because if you were fully awake, yes, it would absolutely stimulate you.
Right, I'd be trying to map it all out on a whiteboard.
Exactly. But this points to the neurobiology of how the brain actually transitions into sleep. Think about the hypnagogic state, that liminal space, right on the very edge of falling asleep.
Oh, yeah.
If you've ever paid attention to your thoughts in that moment, you will notice they stop making logical sense.
Oh, definitely. You will be thinking about paying your electric bill, and suddenly you are convinced that a giant tortoise needs to sign the check, and your brain doesn't even question it.
That is dream logic in action. When we are awake, our prefrontal cortex is in charge. It demands linear progression. A causes B, which causes C.
Making sense of the world.
Right. But to enter REM sleep, that logical, analytical part of the brain has to power down, handing the reins over to the amygdala and the hippocampus, which process abstract emotions and memories.
Oh, wow.
So by intentionally blurring the edges of reality, by introducing future granddaughters and paradoxical time loops, the script is artificially mimicking the onset of the REM sleep state.
So it is feeding the brain the exact kind of nonsense it expects to see right before it shuts off.
It is forcing a cognitive decoupling. If the story remains entirely logical, your prefrontal cortex stays engaged. It tries to predict the next plot point, solve the mystery, or analyze the character motivation.
It stays awake doing a job.
Exactly. But when time stops making sense, your analytical brain gets overwhelmed. It essentially says, I cannot track this chronological puzzle anymore. I surrender. And that surrender is the physiological prerequisite for falling asleep.
It is like the script is holding your hand and slowly walking you across the border from daytime reality into a dream state, using the plot as a diversion tactic.
That is a great way to describe it.
And this complete dissolution of logic sets up the script's final and arguably most vital trick. The moment where the story literally steps out of the pages and directly into your bedroom.
The breaking of the fourth wall.
Yes. Clara realizes that her childhood dream wasn't to live in isolation in a lighthouse. Her dream was to tell stories that make lonely people feel less alone.
Which is beautiful.
It is. Her golden dream light fades into the ocean because she realizes dreams are meant to be shared, not hoarded in glass bottles. And right at that moment of beautiful narrative resolution, the script pivots completely.
It is a massive shift.
It stops telling Clara's story. It abandons the third-person narrative altogether.
It transforms from storytelling to active, direct guidance.
Yeah, the text actually reads, and perhaps one day you may see it too. Perhaps on a quiet night, when the world becomes still, you will close your eyes. You will hear the sound of waves.
It is so direct.
It starts speaking directly to you, the listener. It commands you to let your thoughts become quiet, to listen to the imaginary waves. It feels exactly like the gentle fade out at the end of a really great song.
Oh, I love that comparison.
The realization hits you that the story we just read is the story Clara wrote in that bookstore to help people sleep. The narrator stops being a distant storyteller and suddenly becomes a soothing guide sitting right next to your bed.
The mechanics of that shift in pronouns are just brilliant. Moving from the third-person narrative about Clara and Daniel to the second-person, you, is a profound psychological transfer of energy.
How so?
Well, for 15 minutes, the listener has watched Clara and Daniel find peace, resolve their deep-seated grief, and let go of their physical tension. By suddenly shifting to you, the script takes all of that accumulated peace and effectively transfers it directly onto the listener.
It is like handing the listener the golden lantern.
It is. It says, they found their peace, they let go of their kites, and now it is your turn. It also uses incredibly suggestive clinical language in this final phase.
Like what?
Phrases like, let your thoughts become quiet, or the day slowly drifts away. It is no longer suggesting relaxation through metaphor. It is directly instructing your nervous system to shut down. using the safe, contained environment of the lighthouse as the backdrop.
And it ends by bringing back that recurring, grounding motif from the very beginning. The final bell rings. Dong. The golden light passes over the ocean, the waves become softer, and the guide tells you that your dreams are finally finding their way home.
It is so cohesive.
It is an incredibly hypnotic, sensory-rich package that brings everything full circle.
It really proves that sleep storytelling isn't just about being boring. It is about taking profound human experiences, grief, hope, memory, the feeling of being overwhelmed by life, and using narrative resolution to trigger physical relaxation.
It is functional art.
Exactly. It creates a space where you feel seen, validated, and ultimately safe enough to finally close your eyes.
It gives you a physical place to put your anxieties so you don't have to carry them into your sleep. And that actually brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with.
I'd love to hear it.
Something to mull over the next time you are lying awake in the dark, struggling to shut your brain off. The script suggests that when we forget our dreams, they don't die. They wait for us in this beautiful lighthouse guarded by an old keeper.
Right.
So what if the very act of going to sleep isn't just a biological necessity? What if it isn't just about resting our tired physical bodies, but taking a necessary nightly journey?
A journey to where?
A journey to visit the parts of ourselves, our old hopes and forgotten wonder, that we are simply too busy, too practical, or too afraid to listen to during the loud hours of the day.
That is a fascinating perspective.
Maybe we aren't just turning our brains off. Maybe we are going back to check on the things we have left behind.
A lighthouse waiting just beyond the darkness of the conscious mind.
Exactly. Think about that the next time you close your eyes and let the imaginary waves roll in. What forgotten dream is waiting for you in a glowing glass bottle? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It has been great.
It has been an absolute pleasure unpacking the architecture of sleep storytelling with you. We hope you will join us for our next exploration, where we will dive into another fascinating corner of the things that shape our world.
Until next time.
Until then, just remember, somewhere out there, a golden light is sweeping across the water. Once, twice, again, and again. Sleep well.